He punched a security guard in the face. He punched a doctor in the face. And he literally...
Oh my stars! This is before, during the aftermath. This is my story, don't worry, just pray for me during the aftermath. Before, during the aftermath. So take notice of what I'm going through. Don't mean to be rude, but it could happen to you too. See, in the beginning, life was good.
10 years ago, when I suffered through HG, I didn't really understand it at the time. I was young. Robert and I were young, dumb, but in love. And in all honesty, that's what got us through HG. And I haven't sat down to tell, like, my entire story. People only know bits and pieces of my story. I've been interviewed regarding our Hyperemesis Gravidarum journey. I've spoken at medical conferences. There's such a dark side to Hyperemesis Gravidarum that most have not seen nor talk about. My name is Star Andrew Strong, HG activist, and this is my HG story. In 2010, I met Robert, the love of my life, and we got engaged. Now, I did not have periods during the whole course of my 20s because I was hit by a drunk driver and in a coma for 8.5 months and ended up with GBS from a flu shot. Was paralyzed from it. It was a really hard recovery. I had to learn how to read, write, speak, talk all over again. It was the hardest time of my life, I could tell you, but I was young and driven to do it. I was a model and I was in beauty pageants. I needed to get myself back to how I was to make the money. So when I met Robert, I knew I was going to fall for him hard. Robert and I got engaged and we talked about having kids. And I told him, don't set yourself up for failure because I cannot get pregnant. And I used to tell him that all the time. Don't expect a baby coming out of me. You're not going to get it with me. Went to the doctor, right, to talk about pregnancy and what can I take to jumpstart my period and everything, and nothing worked. This was right when I got together with Robert because I knew I wanted to have children if I could at some point, but being so sick over the years, I was scared to have a child because my worry back then was I'd have a child born with fibromyalgia. I've had fibromyalgia since the age of 15 and cyclic vomiting syndrome. And those were my priorities. I was scared. And girls, females, are at a higher risk for it. I had no idea, the storm of HG would be coming. I had no idea. And I think back of everything, the trials and tribulations that Robert and I have gone through during HG and in the aftermath in these 11 years that him and I have been together. And I don't know how we survived it except for our love. Okay, our love is what saved us. And I know that may sound cliche, but really, our love is what got us through HG to begin with. I love that man with every fiber in my being. And I got the worst care during HG, I was very sick. I was vomiting nonstop. I vomited, even to bloody tears. I'd have blood coming out of every orifice out of my body. So I was always being taken to the hospital and then get some fluids, get Zofran, and they sent me home. And then Robert would have to take me to St. Jude, and they would admit me, and then force Kaiser to admit me in. And oh boy, they didn't like that. They got very mad over that stuff, but I needed proper care. Beginning though, at 6 weeks, I was hospitalized for part of a few months, because they didn't know what to do with me, right? They wanted me to terminate my daughter, and really, I got ganged up by 3 OBGYNs, ganged up on me. And by the time they walked out of the room, I was convinced abortion was the only way out. How sad is that? 1 out of 3 babies don't make it to a live birth, and that's because of termination, miscarriage, stillbirth. 1 in 3. Sad. All women of childbearing age should know what HD is. Any mom that has HD should know that it can cause long-term damage to her and her baby. You can end up depleted on your thymin, your B1, okay? And that can cause Wernicke's encephalopathy. And if that is not caught in time, you die. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit of the story about how I almost died from it. So I got poor care during HD. Poor care. I didn't get a PICC line until I was almost 6 months pregnant. The damage was done, but I was still at the triage every week, every couple days, because at the time I only had IV fluids, and they'd only give me enough IV Zofran for 3 days, right? Then take forever to order it, and then I'd have to wait and be in the hospital, and it was horrid. There were times that they didn't let Robert in there with me, and so Robert came home one day. I don't know, I think I was maybe 7-8 months pregnant. I can't really remember. I had a lot of memories blacked out because I have severe post-traumatic stress just from my pregnancy, and obviously you guys can see I'm still sick with an IV and I have a feeding tube. So he came home, he found me lifeless on the floor. Most people say, well, did he call 911? If where we lived, it took forever for 911 to get there. Okay, for the ambulance, it was faster for him to put me in our truck, get me to the hospital, and that's exactly what he did. We had to do that all the time because it took them so long. Like, I literally would have been dead if I waited for them to come get me. Hospital, you know, they rushed me in. He's like, is she okay? Is the baby okay? They're like, you need to wait outside. And he's like, that's my wife, my baby. Get outside now. Like, they wouldn't tell him anything. Okay, hours started to go by. I was still in the triage, but he had no idea what was going on, you know? And he started to get upset, and one of the security guards I knew him held him back. He's like, dude, you gotta chill. You gotta chill there and call the police. Then how are you gonna help your wife and baby? That ain't no good. He's like, all I want to know is how they are. So the security guard tried to get, like, you know, some info just to see how I was, and he's like, she's not doing too good from what I can tell. That's all I know. And then he went out to the truck to smoke. He was gonna run his truck through the building, like, honest to God. He got in his truck, he turned it on, he turned the lights on, he was just like, F it, you know. What was the reason of living if I was dead and our child? That's how he felt, like, in the moment of time. Truck, he turned the lights on, and then all of a sudden, he hears, baby, and it's my voice in an echo, right? Star? I was like, babe, where are you? But he sees me, like, right in front of him, right? With my head down. And I had blonde hair. My hair was really long and straggly. He heard me say, come, before it's too late, in an echo. So it's like, come, before it's too late. I was like, what do you mean it's too late? Stay there. How are you? How is the baby? Because the mirage of him seeing me was not real, but in a way, because we're connected so tightly. I mean, it's really a love story. Be there, and he's like, tell me, are you and the baby okay? And I was holding my stomach, and he's like, look at me. And he said, I put my head up, and my face was like white, like that movie, The Ring, and then the black circles around my eyes, and you saw blood coming out of my eyes, my nose, my mouth, and then, like, I grabbed my stomach, and blood was, like, pouring out of my vagina. And he hears me say, come quick before it's too late. Me and the baby need you. come, Robert, come. He's like, stay there. I'm going to get you. We're going to go to another hospital. He backed his truck out because he was going to run his truck into the building. He like drove over the divider and everything. And he got out of the truck, and I wasn't there. He started to panic. He runs in. He ran in. Like, this man, I love him. I don't even know how he did it without getting in trouble. But he ran in to the hospital, into L&D, in triage, and I was desat and coding, and, you know, they were saying I was going to lose the baby, and he could hear all this commotion going on, right? And when I, you know, he was able to finally get in there, he punched a security guard in the face, he punched a doctor in the face, and he literally ripped the monitors off of me, picked me up, and ran with me and took me to another hospital. That saved my life. And so Robert and I always say our life is like a lifetime movie. You just cannot make this crap up, and you can't. And him telling me that has stuck in my head even 10 years later. Obviously, because I'm working on editing my book and stuff, that all these memories are coming back, and it's really hard for me. But this is going to be part 1 of a video. I'm going to do it like in chunks of my HD story and the aftermath in the past 10 years and what we've gone through, because we have gone through a lot. So I know I get asked every day, Star, do you still have HD?
So you guys don't look so short.
It's like a perfect Kodak moment, right? And then he says something like that.
So it sucks the last day we have to be here.
Exactly. Don't push on me. This kid's trying to kill me. I'm not joking. So we were here down at the beach 1 year ago when Robert and I renewed our vows. So we've been together 11 and a half years, but married. I'll let Robert say this.
Goodbye. See you all. We'll get the hell out of this hellhole. Talk to you later, vlog later. Let you know what happens. Roll the outro. Bye-bye.